The following is a presentation of TFNN. The Morning Market Kickoff with your host, Tommy O'Brien. Now, Tommy O'Brien.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Tommy O'Brien, coming to you live from TFNN Wednesday morning, just after 9 a.m. Eastern Time. We got about 24 minutes to go until the start of trading, and your market's picking things up in negative territory. Quite the acceleration to higher prices yesterday, even during the program, right? I got off the air at about 43.80 on the S&Ps. You charge higher by about almost a full percent from even where we were on the program. You finish above 44.20. A little bit of a sell-off, actually, towards the end of the day, but right now we're negative by about 12 points. We got NVIDIA trading lower as the U.S. is considering AI chip export restrictions for China. Let's jump over. Why not? You jump over to NVIDIA shares. There's the drop-off last night from about 418 to 496. This is where you start to see where things get priced for perfection, that type of deal, right? 440, just like that. What do we shave off it? 9% off the highs, right? Whew, big numbers, man, when you talk about it in that context. Jumping around to some of the other equities before we jump through some. Microsoft, just wanted to see if NVIDIA was hitting anything else. AMD shares trade a little bit lower as well, off about $3, but nonetheless, NASDAQ 100, you're off by 75. Again, quite the charge higher yesterday. You got back everything you lost on Monday, right? Basil Chapman, he is coming up next with the Tiger Technicians Hour. He loves that symmetry. He loves the cup formation. Doesn't get much better than that, right? I mean, look at that cup. You trade from 15,150 down to 14,800. The very next day, where do you trade to? Right back up to the highs that we had on early Monday. This morning, we're slightly in the red. You get the Dow off by 13 points right now, 34,170. And the Russell off by 2. Crude sitting at $67. We almost got a 66 handle early this morning. Let's go back to a 15-minute chart. And there you see the volatility. About 5 a.m. this morning, 67.05. We make it to 68.40. Volatility continuing in crude. Gold continuing to trade lower. We make new recent lows in that gold contract. We're at 19.15. Yeah, you back it up, right? Beginning of June, we had a 2,000 price point on gold. It's been lower lows and lower highs, and we're trading right now at 19.14. You back it up on a daily. Basically lower lows, lower highs since that high of 2,085 back in early May for that gold contract. We're sitting at 19.15 right now, negative by $8. We jump over to the dollar index. And as you'd expect, the dollar index higher, 102.88 so far this morning. We jump over to the note and bond market, a little bit higher price, lower yield. Right now, you're talking about a 10-year yield sitting at about 3.75%. Not bad, all things considered. 3.75%, the yield on the 10-year. All right, so yeah, let's go back to NVIDIA, because this one's an interesting one, man. You talk about a drop-off, right? The drop-off from 418 down to 396. We've clawed back about $8 of that. I'm sure you may see some volatility on the open. And chip makers drop. One of the headlines out here. NASDAQ falls on that the report that the U.S. is thinking about an AI chip export, curbs. I mean, to some degree, that stuff makes sense to a certain, you want open and free markets, folks. But if it doesn't, you hear it all the time, right? It's not open and free from China coming here. So I'm not sure why we're giving them everything in that regard when geopolitical tensions are ratcheting up. Biden calls him a dictator, and you have tensions ratcheting up. Of course it makes sense that they might want to curb. I mean, we are at the forefront. Imagine we're at the beginning of another technological renaissance to a certain degree in terms of AI. And when you have the ability for computers to start thinking, and I know they're not thinking like cybernetics, Cyberdyne, but the technology race is on, and it has very high stakes, to put it lightly, as we are at the forefront of AI. So yeah, you got a lot trading lower right now. NASDAQ 100, though, set for the best first half on record. We talked about this earlier in the week. And yeah, Friday is the end of the first 6 months of the year. That's the end of the month. And we come back. Monday is a half a day in the holiday. We will be closed. Market's only open for half a day because it's legally required to do so. Can't be closed 4 days in a row. Basically, because price discovery is important from mark to market, you start closing 4 days, 5 days in a row, people get a little worried, as is often the case when you don't open the market. That can be indicative of some underlying problems. So what do they say? They say you can't be closed for 4 consecutive days. So that's the reason why. If you ever wonder why they make the market open on the Friday after Thanksgiving, it's because they're required to. Can't be closed 4 days continuously. So what they do is they sneak in a half a day to get in the regulation, to open the markets, to market everything for clarity, liquidity, whatever it is. And it's, this either way, July 4th falling on Tuesday. Yeah, Monday is going to be an extra slow day, so we'll be closed, but the market's going to be open for half a day. And yeah, that closes out the first half of the year for the market. All right, what else are we going to talk? We got to talk a little bit of Russia to kick things off. Why not? This one from Bloomberg, okay, and this one is out, even just 7:30 this morning. I was reading it about an hour before the program. Putin claims he's back in control, but Russia's elite aren't so sure. Mutiny showed Putin's control of events weakened. People say, many insiders still say they see no alternative to Putin. I mean, if you can't see that he's weakened in some degree, then you're not opening your eyes because, boy, it was quite a wake-up. Now, the story from the Journal out here, okay, this one looks like it was just published. Maybe it was. I saw this headline pop up. I hadn't read it in terms of the details yet. But he had quite a plan, man. Yeah, and it looks like this did just get published, right? Right before I came on the air. He planned to capture Russia's military leadership as part of that plan last weekend. And he accelerated those plans after, looks like, intelligence agencies became aware of the plot. You saw the articles out there that our agencies were aware. I guess Russia's agencies became aware as well. And he accelerated that. But he intended to capture the defense minister, and a general, and the chief of Russia's general staff during a visit to a southern region that borders Ukraine that the two were planning. But the FSB found out about the plan 2 days before it was to be executed. I mean, it's straight out of a movie here, right? Pretty wild. Yeah, the general, the commander of the National Guard, a domestic military force, reports directly to President Putin, said authorities knew about Prigozhin's intentions before he launched his attempt. Specific leaks about the preparations for a rebellion that was going to begin the 22nd to the 25th were leaked. Pretty remarkable in that context, man. I mean, you got to know that Putin's got it out for him. And I wonder what happened that had him turning back so quickly, right? Where's that story, man? That's got to come out. I mean, the details got to come out in terms of how that turnaround happened. Because he obviously either, maybe he planned on capturing some of those Russian officials to defect others. Maybe he planned on more support that he didn't get from other generals or whatever it was. And yeah, I mean, saying maybe he got paid, but who are you getting paid by? You getting paid by Putin? I mean, that's I don't think Putin, I'm sure he got an offer, but you got to know that Putin's coming to kill you, man. So I don't know how that goes in terms of how that one, anyway, interesting stuff, right? In terms of going to capture the generals. There was a big plot there. That was real deal. And somehow it got turned away 2 hours from Moscow. Nonetheless, we pick up the market negative by 11 on the S&Ps. We'll be coming back. We'll be talking to our man Kevin Hincks from TD Ameritrade Network. Fast Market. Be right back, folks. Don't go away.
Tigers and Tigresses, get ready for our annual 4th of July Tiger Dollar Sale. From now until July 7th, you can receive a 20, 30, or even a 40% bonus when you purchase Tiger Dollars. Tiger Dollars are automatically applied to your account and can be used for all subscriptions and purchases. Don't wait, this sale ends July 7th. Visit TFNN.com today to purchase Tiger Dollars and receive a 20, 30, or even a 40% bonus. As an added bonus, every order comes with a special TFNN mug. Happy 4th, Tigers. TFNN, educating investors.
Everything in the universe is governed by the Fibonacci sequence. This mathematical principle is responsible for everything from the most aesthetically pleasing artwork to patterns in the stock market. To stay on top of stock patterns you can take advantage of, sign up for the Fibonacci 24/7 newsletter at TFNN.com. When you subscribe, you'll get a weekly report from veteran day trader Larry Pesavento on stocks you need to pay attention to. And you can trust Larry's analysis. After all, he's got 45 years years' experience as a day trader. Larry will also provide daily charts, videos, and data on the key markets that he's tracking. Expect notifications from Larry on market movement you need to act on at any time. First-time subscribers also get a 30-day money-back guarantee. If you're not satisfied, let us know and you'll get a full refund within 30 days of signing up. Subscribe to the Fibonacci 24/7 newsletter today. TFNN.com, educating investors.
Steve Rhodes started his trading career as a student almost 20 years ago, and the student has now become the master. Steve won the prestigious Timer of the Year award in 2018 and barely missed that mark again in 2019, finishing at number 2 for the year. An amazing accomplishment. Steve Rhodes is committed to sharing his techniques and knowledge with anyone who wants to learn, and he shares his vast amount of trading knowledge every day in his Mastering Probability newsletter. Steve's award-winning newsletter, Mastering Probability, is delivered every trading day with updates throughout the afternoon. Sign up for Steve's market newsletter, Mastering Probability, and you'll receive access to 7 of Steve's educational webinars absolutely free. At TFNN, all our newsletters come with a 30-day money-back guarantee, so you have absolutely nothing to worry about. Visit TFNN.com and try Mastering Probability 30 days risk-free today. TFNN, educating investors.
If you're looking for potential trading setups in the stock market, then Rocket Equities and Options Report is a newsletter you should try. Tommy O'Brien delivers options and equity trades when the markets present them, using a combination of fundamentals and technicals. Sign up for Rocket Equities and Options Report today with a 30-day money-back guarantee, so you have nothing to risk. For all the details and to start your subscription today, visit the front page of TFNN.com. TFNN, educating investors. Welcome back, folks. Jumping around to a couple news stories. We have the S&P's negative by about 11 points right now. The NASDAQ negative by 77 points right now. Markets all in the red. We jump over to that journal story. Nope, that's not the article. Excuse me. There it is. And here's the headline. So this is the story talking about, for NVIDIA in China, an AI battle with Washington bodes ill. The U.S. is poised to again tighten restrictions on exports of AI chips to China. Now, fundamentally, this is the forefront of technology, and it would make sense to some degree that you're going to have a political discourse take place when you're talking about China. And you take a look at NVIDIA, man. NVIDIA sitting at about 404 from 418 last night at the close. All right, let's jump over to our man Kevin Hincks. Every trading day, folks, 12 noon Eastern time, fast market from the TD Ameritrade Network. Kevin Hincks, the whole team at TD Ameritrade Network, they'll walk you through 3 hypothetical trade setups, talking options every single day, folks, talking defined risk. Kevin Hincks, good morning. Just talking a little bit of NVIDIA, talking a little bit of AI. What do you think of the action this morning, Kevin?
Good morning, Tommy O'Brien. Yeah, what can stop or pause a momentum trade on the upside? A little news about regulation and the U.S. government considering new restrictions on exports of AI chips to China. That's got NVIDIA down about 3%. That's got AMD down about 3%. And that's setting the tone, at least for the beginning of today. You've got the dollar higher, but you've got yields a little bit lower this morning. So kind of an interesting start to the day. The economic data, more strong housing number in terms of mortgage apps. But, you know, we'll be watching in the next 10 minutes or so, Tommy, the central bank forum in Portugal, Jerome Powell speaking, along with Christine Lagarde, Kazuo Ueda, the head of Bank of Japan, the Bank of England, Andrew Bailey. They'll be on a panel. So they'll probably make some headlines from there. We'll be watching that. But so far today, moderately, not a big down day, but certainly a soft day for the market, at least to start, Tommy.
Yeah, it was interesting to see the headline, and I revert back almost, and we talked about it yesterday over the weekend, of course, with Russia, and you see the market sitting so well, and it shakes it off. You do have these stocks trading lower. On a market perspective, Kevin, right? We're looking at the S&Ps. I have the futures up here on the Thinkorswim platform. We're trading right now at 44.07. You're always talking about stay current. I love it, as in don't go too far out right now. With the VIX so low, you've talked about summer trading, Kevin. In your head, do you try and ever set things up where you're trying to look at a risk reward? Maybe is it fair to the downside? Is it fair to the upside when you're talking about the market at 4,400? I know equities you've talked about, listen, at one price, I'm going to love to buy it. At one price, I'm going to love to sell any equity, depending on how it's valued. What do you think in general? And I know it's big picture in terms of this market, but it seems like we get headlines like this morning, Kevin, which is the reason why I'm asking. It seems like we're priced for a lot of optimism with where the Fed is, with where AI stocks are right now, and then over the weekend we have a potential war, and then you get restrictions potentially, the multiples NVIDIA is dealing with. Do you think about that type of relationship in the market, or do you approach it where you're just looking going forward without trying to get too biased on one way or the other? I know it's a big question, man, but it's a fundamental question. I think a lot of people are trying to look at this market right now and say, man, does it really have a lot of upside? What do you think about that type of conversation?
Well, it's several things to dissect there. Number one, do you consider yourself a trader or an investor, right? Traders have a much more short-term look at the market than, say, an investor does. So that's one way to look at the market. Now, are you looking, how do you trade? I mean, are you thinking about protection for these stocks that have run so far, or maybe you're not even in them and you still have to be cognizant of what they've done to the overall market? I mean, I think a lot of this trade, Tommy, in some of these names because people weren't in them, right? People weren't in these Magnificent Seven names, and now they've been caught with kind of missing out on some of the rally. I think that, one reason that the market stayed so resilient and so strong was there were a lot of people that were short this market, a lot of hedge funds that were levered up on the downside. So you've always got to be careful. The market will move in a way that it can hurt the most people sometimes. And if the overall market, the trading community was short, not surprising that it was unable to really hold any sell-offs. Now, you've got this AI boom that is certainly the euphoria of this spring. And you've got to deal with that now because look at where Disney was a year and a half ago when the craze was all for streaming services. And look at Netflix and look at Roku and where all these stocks were. And look where they are now, Tommy. Why? Because inflation. There's going to be winners and losers. There's going to be competition in these sectors. And so you've got to be careful that these stocks have run so far and their valuations have gotten so rich. Now, could it go further? Of course it can. But you've always got to be prepared for, when Disney stock was at 203, not a lot of people were bearish on Disney stock. Now it's, roughly $90. And so you look at it now. So you've always got to be prepared for things like that, Tommy.
I appreciate it, man. I know it's not an easy question. It's just big picture thinking, but I'm thinking about it myself. I'm sure we got many listeners thinking about it. And I appreciate you taking, 9 minutes every day, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays, right before the market, man, because it's important time. We got 6 minutes till the open. And the experience you bring, Kevin, I appreciate it. That's why I asked the questions, man. With that in mind, we're coming into the end of the month, man. We're coming into July 4th. We're wrapping up earnings. Do you guys have some equities you're going to be talking about on Fast Market at 12 today, Kevin?
Still a couple names to finish up here, Tommy. We'll look at Micron today. That has earnings after the bell. We'll look at Nike. That has earnings tomorrow after the bell. And then we'll trade Delta Airlines. Really good news out of Delta yesterday and their chairman, Ed Bastian. So cover three names that are in the news right now, Tommy.
Three big ones, man. I like it. Yeah, pulling up that Delta. Quite a charge higher. Travel. Pretty cool, man. Delta, $46 yesterday, charging higher. Micron, Nike, three great stocks, as you say. Kevin, I appreciate the time, man. As always, we look forward to the program at 12 today, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Have a great day, Tommy. Thanks for having me on.
You too, Kevin. Folks, check it out. 12 o'clock every trading day, Fast Market. And, yeah, we're very fortunate to have Kevin for 9 minutes on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays. You think about the time, too, going into the open. They do an outstanding program at 12 o'clock. Kevin's still a trader, though, man. All right, he's in there. The market opens in 5 minutes, so I'm very appreciative that he takes that time every day, man, because, boy, I've learned a tremendous amount myself over the years. Check out the program, folks. Even if you don't trade options, I say it every time, you can learn a tremendous amount about the market, about whether it's implied volatility, whether it's about expected moves in the market, whether it's about delta, theta, all that stuff. Very important, even if you're not an options trader, to understand how the market is pricing an equity and the expected moves it's going to have, right? So even if you're an equities trader, you should understand what options are pricing in for one standard deviation moves. You should understand what it's pricing in for an expected move coming into an earnings event if you're an equities trader, right? Even if you don't trade options. And there are ways to trade options, okay, that lower your risk. Our man Dave White used to always say options should lower your risk, not increase your risk, if used correctly. Great saying. Not a lot of people employ it in that manner, but if you do, can really add to the benefits of equity trading. So check it out. They'll be talking about Micron. They'll be talking about Delta. They'll be talking about Nike. Few earnings companies left. Stay tuned, folks. We're coming back for the open.
Building wealth trading in the stock market seems impossible to most people. They think it's too volatile and risky. Most people aren't going to take the time to educate themselves on how to do it right. But you're not most people, are you? At TFNN, you'll get the guidance you need to refine your strategies and techniques to invest like a pro. Because you'll be a pro. All TFNN subscriptions, books, software, and courses are available at TFNN.com. And I'm even going to tell you how to get them for less. Use TFNN's Tiger Dollars and you'll get up to a 20% bonus on your purchase. And once you apply them to your account, Tiger Dollars are automatically used for all future or recurring charges. Tiger Dollars also never expire, are fully transferable, and are a great way to add savings to your newsletters or services. Become the investor you were born to be at TFNN.com. TFNN, educating investors.
TFNN has just launched their new trading room, the Tiger's Den, hosted at Discord. TFNN has been educating traders for more than 20 years with live programming hosted by a variety of professional traders during market hours. And now they are expanding their reach with the Tiger's Den, available to all tigers and tigresses for just $1 for the year. There's no catch or added costs when you join our community of traders. In the Tiger's Den, you can look over the shoulders of Tom O'Brien and the other TFNN hosts while they analyze charts during their live Tiger TV programs, and join an interactive trading community with hundreds of members exchanging ideas. Interact with other tigers and tigresses as they share trading ideas, news analysis, and discuss the market action all trading day, even at night and on the weekends. The Tiger's Den at Discord is accessible on mobile or tablets as well, so it's always at your reach. To sign up today and become a part of this educational community of traders, just visit the front page of TFNN.com.
Sharpening your skills as an investor is like getting better at playing a musical instrument. You have to practice, sure, but you also need excellent instruction from experts. At TFNN, you'll get advice and guidance from the authority in technical market analysis. And it's not just dry, tedious text either. TFNN airs live financial content streamed live on TFNN.com and TFNN's YouTube channel with Tiger TV, live every market day from 8:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern. For free. Each host is an experienced trader and gives their take on the market while taking calls and questions live from around the world. From the moment the market opens until the closing bell sounds, Tiger TV has 8 different shows with expert hosts to help you make the right moves with your money. Watch online at TFNN.com or on TFNN's YouTube channel and become the investor you were born to be. TFNN, educating investors.
This segment is brought to you by Thinkorswim. For more information, just click the Thinkorswim banner on the front page of TFNN.com.
Excuse me. Welcome back, folks. We got markets open. You got an S&P down by 12 points, trading at 44.06. Let's just take a look at the run we had yesterday. Let's put a little Fibonacci retracement. We bump it up to the highs, and we're right at the 382, 44.05 in the S&Ps right now. You get the NASDAQ negative by 62, the Dow off by 85, 34,099. Let's check in on NVIDIA shares. Can't hold down AI, man. I kid. In jest. NVIDIA shares quite a pop, man. You're up, what, $13 almost off the lows we had at 4:30 this morning on the Journal, talking about potential restrictions from the government on AI chips to China. We're trading right now at 409. We're right back to where we were yesterday at this time. Pretty remarkable you can shake something like that off, right? Pay attention to this, folks, okay? Yes, you're lower, okay? Yes, you're lower by 2.4%. I'm sure AMD is lower on the flip, off 1.7. They catch a bid as well, though. Microsoft's off 1.6%. Excuse me, Micron is off 1.6% right now as well. They have their numbers coming down the line. Let's check out some of the others. Kevin talked about Nike's got their numbers. Nike, flat coming into that. You check out the daily. Quite a run it had from a year ago, 82 to 131. We're trading right now at 113.50. We check out the big dog Apple. We make a new high today? Not quite. 188.39, all-time high for Apple yesterday. We're just under that number right now. And yeah, let's take a look. We're getting near that 3 trillion mark, man. 2.957. So what do we need? We need 60. We need $40 billion from right now. So all we need is $2 and what, 60 cents? So it's like 190.80, 190.83, something 190. You get to 191, you're there. So man, pretty remarkable, right? $3 trillion. Apple just consistently crushing it, man. Microsoft shares. Where are we on Microsoft? 2.5. So they got some catching up to do. We jump over to Google shares. Where's Google on the ranks? About 1.5. You see the separation, right? Remember when they were all jockeying for $1 trillion? You got Apple at 3, you got Microsoft at 2.5, you got Google at 1.5, you have Amazon at 1.3. Let's see where Meta is back to. They were as low as what, 300 or 400, I think, at 733 billion Meta shares. We jump over to Tesla, their market cap. Just to add some context here, talking about 795. Tesla shares up about 0.3% so far this morning. Let's check in on the dollar index, see how we're moving. Up about 0.3% right now. Yeah, up 37 ticks. Quite an acceleration. Kevin talked about it. You got the 10-year right now. A little positive. We got the 10-year yield at about 3.75%. Check out some of the home builders. Look at this, man. This is remarkable, man. We're crushing all-time highs. I mean, look at the run this thing just had yesterday. From 122 to 126 yesterday alone for Lennar. D.R. Horton, up another 0.4% right now. Man, it's just a one-way trip for these home builders. It's going to be so interesting to see what happens in housing, man. I was reading a report from a friend this morning. I'll see if I can find this, and I'm not sure it's even verified, but it was talking about potentially that Airbnb, that there's some rapid decreases in certain markets, especially with Airbnb. Let me see if I can pull it up. Let me see if I can find this. Yeah, here we go. All right, so it's a tweet from somebody. Not aware of who it is, and it's a screen capture. Take it for what it's worth. But they're talking about revenue collapses in certain areas, okay? And this is, I'm not sure. Let's see who this gentleman is. CEO of a consulting and app. And what do they do? #1 real estate channel on YouTube, over 4 million monthly views. Okay, so he's got what, 78,000 followers. For what it's worth, this is what they're talking about, okay? This is revenue per available listing. Revenue per an available listing. Now, I'm not sure how that can be skewed versus listings that potentially are sitting there for whatever it is. That's what it is, okay? And it's talking about percentage decline from a year ago, May to May. What's interesting here is Sevierville? How do you pronounce that one? I've stayed there, right near the Great Smoky Mountains. Great place, man. Rented a cabin, actually, about 3 years ago, before Tommy was born. Beautiful cabin, overlooking the mountains. Beautiful cabin with a view. You got a hot tub out there. If you haven't checked it out, folks, check it out. Great Smoky Mountains. Beautiful spot. So we were there in October of 2020. And what's ironic is that we were actually thinking about going back this year. Yeah, and we haven't been back since. Nonetheless, interesting to see that at the top of the list. And then you got number 12 here, Lakeland, Florida, which is basically where I am right now. Now, Seaverville is the Great Smoky Mountain Cabin. Okay, so it would make sense that it's a location that you're going there to go to the mountains, okay? Whether it's in the winter to go to the mountains, boy, you better have a vehicle to get up this hill too, because we went in October before you really usually get a bunch of snow, because you need a big old SUV to get up this hill. You might as well be climbing a mountain to get to these cabins. But it's a destination spot. It's vacation. So I was surprised to see that up there. When you think about it, people are still traveling. People are still vacationing. This could be Airbnb, though, man, because my friends were talking about this. This is where I got the tweet. And they were talking about it's the fees have gotten out of control, right? And they are a huge weight on people booking these types of vacations when the fees have dramatically risen, it feels like, at least, right, on top of it. But Lakeland, Florida, while a great spot, interesting in that it's not quite any location. Lakeland is blown up because it's so close to Tampa in particular. It's close to Orlando as well, okay? But you go a little bit outside of the city, right? I mean, you can find a beautiful house around here for $250,000, man, $300,000. You can buy brand new houses for $350,000. Lakeland, Florida, you got a little bit of a commute in Tampa. You got a pool, right? So affordability going out there. Surprised to see that as much, though, because the Airbnb capacity for a place like that, where really the advantage of living in Lakeland, Florida is, you know, you can find a beautiful home for an affordable price, and there's working. It's not necessarily where you go for Disney. It's not necessarily where you go for Clearwater Beach or St. Pete Beach. It's kind of in the middle. So it was interesting to see that drop off. Different dichotomy in terms of what you're dealing with. But they're talking about Airbnb. And watch out for a wave of forced selling from owners later this year in the areas hit hardest by the revenue collapse. We'll see if that plays out, okay? I have no opinion one way or the other. Those numbers seem a little bit stark in terms of why, if you had a cabin in the Great Smoky Mountains, that you'd be taking in $6,200 in May of last year versus taking in $3,200 this year. So I wouldn't base everything on that. But the real estate market, in its own way, you got to know that it's harder to cash flow when you deal with the rates you're dealing with right now. Okay, and we're going to talk a little bit of real estate when we come back from the break as well. We've got an article from the Journal here talking about home buyers with short memories of driving up prices in hurricane-hit town. Yeah, and if they're not worried about flooding, then they're not as worried. As you had Ian just 9 months ago hitting Naples, but people are coming back, man. Short memories, to say the least. Stay tuned, folks. We'll be back. We'll talk a little bit of real estate. We'll talk to home builders. We'll be right back.
Tigers and Tigresses, get ready for our annual 4th of July Tiger Dollar Sale. From now until July 7th, you can receive a 20, 30, or even a 40% bonus when you purchase Tiger Dollars. Tiger Dollars are automatically applied to your account and can be used for all subscriptions and purchases. Don't wait, this sale ends July 7th. Visit TFNN.com today to purchase Tiger Dollars and receive a 20, 30, or even a 40% bonus. As an added bonus, every order comes with a special TFNN mug. Happy 4th, Tigers. TFNN, educating investors.
You might think that if you want to be successful at trading in the stock market, you're going to need a crystal ball. After all, it's impossible to predict the future, right? Like any endeavor in life, before you decide it's impossible, get some advice from the experts. You might find that it's not so impossible after all. For daily market overviews that give you direction on the key indices, selective stocks, and commodities, subscribe to the Opening Call newsletter at TFNN.com. The Opening Call newsletter is written by Basil Chapman, creator of the trading methodology known as the Chapman Wave. The Chapman Wave up-down sequence gives you an edge in identifying price turns, finding the peaks and valleys in stock prices. Get the Opening Call newsletter by Basil Chapman in your inbox every day. First-time subscribers also get a 30-day money-back guarantee. If you're not satisfied, let us know, and you'll get a full refund within 30 days of signing up. TFNN.com, educating investors.
The Gold Report. As a precious metal, gold is still king. It continues to hold the most effective safe haven and hedging properties across the global major trading hubs of the London OTC market, the U.S. futures market, and the Shanghai Gold Exchange. The Gold Report. Tom O'Brien publishes his weekly gold report every Monday morning for subscribers, consisting of coverage of the XAU, HUI, GDX, the dollar, bonds, the South African rand, as well as 25 different mining equities with specific buy-sell recommendations. The Gold Report. New subscribers get a 30-day money-back guarantee so you have nothing to risk. Subscribe to Tom O'Brien's Gold Report newsletter now at TFNN.com.
Will the S&P 500 continue to climb? For bold trades on U.S. large-cap stocks in either direction, trade SPXL, SPUU, or SPXS. Directions Daily S&P 500 Bull and Bear Leveraged ETFs. Direction Leveraged ETFs. An investor should carefully consider a fund's investment objective, risks, charges, and expenses before investing. A fund's prospectus and summary prospectus contain this and other information about Direction shares. To obtain a fund's prospectus and summary prospectus, call 866-476-7523 or visit directioninvestments.com. A fund's prospectus and summary prospectus should be read carefully before investing. An investment in the funds is subject to risk, including the possible loss of principal. The funds are designed to be utilized only by sophisticated investors such as traders and active investors. Distributor Foreside Fund Services, LLC.
This program is brought to you by Vista Gold, traded on the NYSE American and TSX under the symbol VGZ.
Welcome back, folks. We got markets pretty much where we kicked off the session 12 minutes ago. You got the S&P right now negative by about 12, NASDAQ negative about 20. NASDAQ catches a bid, actually, over the highs we were at about 7 o'clock. Dow, a little bit of a divergence here, right? You get the Dow selling off, you get the NASDAQ trading higher, you got the Russell right now selling off a bit as well as you're off by 8. Let's jump to some of those FANG stocks. Apple shares catches a bid. New all-time highs for Apple. Another day, man. Another day. Why not? Microsoft shares up 0.4%. Google shares, they catch a bid on the open to get flat. You jump over to NVIDIA. Look at that, right? NVIDIA only off 1.9% right now. You jump over to AMD shares off 1.7. You jump over to Micron, down about 0.9. Not that bad. You get Nike earnings coming out tomorrow. Nike basically flat, off about 0.2%. Yeah, so we're talking a little bit of home builders. Lennar up a bit, continuing the run that they had yesterday. DHI, DR Horton up another 1/3% right now. And interesting, so I was talking about, number one, Airbnb, okay, and talking about the revenue collapse. And, I mean, it's pretty simple, man. If you're banking this kind of money, hopefully you got a lot of profit built in there. Because, boy, if those numbers are real, yeah, you talk about a cash flow problem that's dramatic to say the least, right? Now, this is an interesting one that ties in Florida from the Journal, okay? Excuse me. This is out updated as of about midnight last night. Home buyers with short memories are driving up prices in hurricane-hit town, and this one's talking about Naples. Now, Naples got clobbered, man. Was that last year or was that 2 years ago? What's going on? When was that? Yeah, 9 months ago. Whew, it was that close to us 9 months ago. Because that was almost a direct hit on Tampa, okay? What did I just close it out? No, here we go. So for some context here, just if you're not exactly familiar with where Naples is in Florida, okay, Naples is on the west coast of Florida towards the southern tip of the state, basically. All right, you're down here is Naples. You got Tampa Bay, up here on the west coast as well. But as we're all familiar with, the east coast of Florida really takes some hammers in terms of the storms because they can roll in off the Atlantic, right, and just batter the east coast, whereas it's somewhat difficult for the storm to build the same amount of strength coming over the islands, coming over the Dominican Republic, coming over Cuba, looping into the Gulf, and somehow looping back to hit the west coast of Florida. It can happen, but it seems like it's a little bit more difficult, at least over historical, to hit our coast on the west as it is to the east. Now, it almost happened to Tampa. Naples got decimated because of the storm surge in particular. And boy, then you're talking about the Gulf Coast. My dad and I, if you're not familiar, if you haven't been listening long enough, we were in Hurricane Katrina in New Orleans. We were staying at the Hilton. Thank goodness we were there for a launch party for one of our advertisers, Odyssey Marine. Do you remember them? They did ocean exploration treasure hunters, basically. And they had found a big wreck. They built a whole exhibit on it in New Orleans. They opened the exhibit the weekend before Katrina hit. Talk about some unfortunate timing, man. So we were there to celebrate that with them. And boy, that was a doozy, man. Can't believe that was that long ago. So, yeah, I don't think, I don't know, Duffy. I don't know. I talked to my dad. I think he does. Maybe he's in the chat. Maybe he knows what happened with Odyssey Marine. But I know that unfortunately, I don't think their exhibit, their grand opening, I don't think that played out. That was unfortunate because they were building their whole exhibit around a wreck they had found, etc. Nonetheless, okay, back to the story in the real estate. What they're talking about here, Naples, okay, is that people coming to Naples, and the trend is somewhat similar to what you'd probably find, at least my perception, to around Tampa, to around some of the areas of Florida, okay, because there's a lot of flood areas, but you'd be surprised, actually, folks, in terms of where you can find areas where you might not be as susceptible to some of those storm surges. Now, listen, a hurricane rolls over you, Category 5. You better make sure you're in a home that is well built enough to sustain that type of a hurricane, okay? But storm surges, especially in the Tampa Bay area, there's potential there in dramatic fashion. But I'll show you in general, okay? This is the Tampa area. And for some context here, this is what they refer to as South Tampa. Okay, and then you have Davis Island here. You got Harbor Island, I believe, right here. And these are very expensive properties. Island Inlets in Tampa. I think Brady was living out here. It's this one right here, I think it is. Yeah, this is Harbor Island right here. And so this is one of the more expensive areas, but you can see how susceptible some of these areas would be if the Bay especially ever go to storm surge in that particular, right? So you got Harbor Island, you got Davis Island, beautiful spots. You got South Tampa. This is where you got Gasparilla taking place. The ships roll in, etc. You got downtown Tampa, giving you a little tour of Tampa Bay. The convention center down here, that's where you have Amalie Arena, where the Lightning play, okay? So that's kind of your South Tampa action. But what I'm going to show you real quick is that South Tampa, okay, which is this area, which is where I have a duplex that I own as well, you'd be surprised, folks, that actually when I was searching for a place to own, this is the beautiful Bayshore Boulevard right here, where the Gasparilla Parade takes place, Bayshore Boulevard. Actually the longest continuous sidewalk in the continental United States, I believe. Let me know if that's not correct, but I'm pretty sure because the way it stretches, it's the longest continuous sidewalk on Bayshore Boulevard in Tampa. But what you'd be surprised about, folks, is that if you come off the coast, my property, which is only about a block off of Bayshore Boulevard, has an altitude of about 15 or 16 feet. So yes, you got a huge storm surge, you got 20 feet, okay? It can reach my property, I understand it. But boy, if it ever reaches 20 feet on my property, folks, Tampa Bay is going to be wiped out. It's going to be wiped out clean because many areas are so low-lying in this area in terms of where you are. Of course, you're talking about the coasts, all right? You're talking about St. Pete in many areas by the coast. St. Pete down here. TFNN headquarters right down here in St. Pete. Let me zoom in where we're at. Show you where we are in 300 4th Ave South. Right around here. Yeah, right around here is our building. You got where the Rowdies play soccer. So you can see the susceptibility, but we're going to finish this conversation up when we get back because it's important in the context that I am having a similar risk assessment with my property in Tampa and that I'm away from the storm surge, probably, okay? Everybody has a risk for a hurricane, But in certain areas, and that's what's happening with Naples, man, they're coming back in force, and they're paying up for it, and they're not that worried about hurricanes, because even though some areas got decimated, there's many areas that didn't, and it still exists. So real estate, we'll come back, we'll talk a little bit more. We'll be right back, folks.
TFNN has just launched their new trading room, the Tiger's Den. Hosted at Discord, TFNN has been educating traders for more than 20 years with live programming hosted by a variety of professional traders during market hours. And now they are expanding their reach with the Tiger's Den, available to all tigers and tigresses for just $1 for the year. There's no catch or added costs when you join our community of traders. In the Tiger's Den, you can look over the shoulders of Tom O'Brien and the other TFNN hosts while they analyze charts during their live Tiger TV programs, and join an interactive trading community with hundreds of members exchanging ideas. Interact with other tigers and tigresses as they share trading ideas, news analysis, and discuss the market action all trading day, even at night and on the weekends. The Tiger's Den at Discord is accessible on mobile or tablets as well, so it's always at your reach. To sign up today and become a part of this educational community of traders, just visit the front page of TFNN.com.
You might think that if you want to be successful at trading in the stock market, you're going to need a crystal ball. After all, it's impossible to predict the future, right? Like any endeavor in life, before you decide it's impossible, get some advice from the experts. You might find that it's not so impossible after all. For daily market overviews that give you direction on the key indices, selective stocks, and commodities, subscribe to the Opening Call newsletter at TFNN.com. The Opening Call newsletter is written by Basil Chapman, creator of the trading methodology known as the Chapman Wave. The Chapman Wave up-down sequence gives you an edge in identifying price turns, finding the peaks and valleys in stock prices. Get the Opening Call newsletter by Basil Chapman in your inbox every day. First-time subscribers also get a 30-day money-back guarantee. If you're not satisfied, let us know, and you'll get a full refund within 30 days of signing up. TFNN.com, educating investors.
Everything in the universe is governed by the Fibonacci sequence. This mathematical principle is responsible for everything from the most aesthetically pleasing artwork to patterns in the stock market. To stay on top of stock patterns you can take advantage of, sign up for the Fibonacci 24/7 newsletter at TFNN.com. When you subscribe, you'll get a weekly report from veteran day trader Larry Pesavento on stocks you need to pay attention to. And you can trust Larry's analysis. After all, he's got 45 years experience as a day trader. Larry will also provide daily charts, videos, and data on the key markets that he's tracking. Expect notifications from Larry on market movement you need to act on at any time. First-time subscribers also get a 30-day money-back guarantee. If you're not satisfied, let us know and you'll get a full refund within 30 days of signing up. Subscribe to the Fibonacci 24/7 newsletter today. TFNN.com, educating investors.
This segment is brought to you by Thinkorswim. For more information, just click the Thinkorswim banner on the front page of TFNN.com.
Welcome back, folks. We got a little bit of a sell-off. S&P's off by 17. NASDAQ reverses that bounce a bit. We're trading negative 50 points. That's 1/3%. You get the Dow off 0.4% right now, and you got the Russell off by about 1/3% as well. We jump over to the dollar index. A little bit of a reversal from the trend higher that we had at about 9:15. We're still up by about 33 ticks, though. 102.82. We check in on the 10-year. The 10-year, whoops. Yeah, a little bit of volatility, but all things considered, still up about 5 ticks. The 10-year yield right at about 3.75%. So jumping back to that story, the part I wanted to get to, even the quotes that matter. And this is the quote from one of the buyers here, talking about a couple, and this is luxury real estate. Some of the numbers they're throwing around here, man, you're talking about communities with 600 to 700 estates, talking about $16 million is what the typical home value for some of these. But I'm not worried about the hurricane damage. We're far enough inland that we're not subject to storm surge. Our home is modern, and the building code is Florida is extremely high standard. The important part here, we've been able to purchase home insurance without any problems, so we're well protected. With that attitude, yeah, I'd say that plays out, man. And you just want to be aware of some of those flood risks, though, folks. There is a great site out here, firststreet.org. You can look up some of your flood risks. Now, this takes things a little bit further than the normal type of a flood risk for a flood zone, because there's many properties these days, man. You can be outside of a flood zone, and if you plan on holding that property 10 years, 20 years, or even if you plan on holding it through your entire 30-year mortgage, are you properly assessing the risks over the next 30 years of a potential flood? So firststreet.org, check that out if you do want to check out. You can put in your address, and they give you a full report for free. And so check that out as well. And yeah, on the insurance front, folks, if you are in Florida, check out Citizens if you're having any problems with your own insurance. I've talked about it on the program before. For that duplex I was talking about in Tampa, not in a flood zone, okay? Nothing to do with flood zone. I think my insurance was going up to $7,000 or $8,000 a year. I went to Citizens. It came back down to $1,400 or something like that, folks. $1,400 to $8,000. Many agents will tell you they can't do Citizens. You can do Citizens. There's a couple restrictions, but look into it if you're in Florida and if you're having any problems with your home insurance. Folks, thanks so much. Stay tuned. Basil Chapman, he's up next. Have a great Wednesday, folks. We'll talk to you tomorrow.